Okay, welcome to your week 6 video lecture for 1500. This is going to be a short one, and it's just about a whole bunch of ideas and strategies and things for you to be as successful as possible working from home, which you're all now doing. So this kind of come around from thinking about this transition and all of the things that are going to go with it, not just in terms of putting content online, but in terms of strategies for you to be as effective as possible yourselves at absorbing this new content. So I asked some people how they're finding the transition, and a lot of you said you're finding it difficult. And that's pretty understandable. Some people like it. Some people think it's easier being fully online. Some people think it's roughly the same, and a reasonable number of you have said it's been challenging. And the biggest complaint was motivation. It's hard to stay or get motivated in the online environment. And so I thought I'd put some content together to try and help with that. I'm going to talk about some of these things throughout. This is not exactly a problem I'm going to be able to solve by just throwing motivational posters at it, right? This doesn't help. It is difficult. So we've got some techniques and some strategies to go through today to help you be better at it, basically. Teaching learning strategies is something that we've always done in 1500. That's always been something that's been there, and I'm normally very happy to talk to you about the most effective way of learning. The only concern is that has always previously been me stressing, make maximum use of your face-to-face time. It's the best way to learn. Yeah, so now we're transitioning, obviously, and we need to figure out ways of making maximum use of our time now that we're not face-to-face. And we've been doing a lot of this type of stuff already, switching to Discord and doing video lectures and in order to help with this. The main goal of this lecture is to increase your efficiency of online learning. So what I'm trying to do is transition you into a way where with minimum time, you can still absorb maximum knowledge or build maximum knowledge. So we're trying to, again, as always, make less work for you, make this easier for you. That's the goal of this. Hopefully, after this today, you're going to be far more effective at online learning, so your efficiency is going to go through the roof. That's the goal, anyway. The one bit of preachiness that I'm going to give to you here is basically my job description to some extent. So every time you get presented with a scenario like you all currently have been, there are a bunch of factors in any problem that you can't change. So, you can't stop the fact that we're going to online delivery. All you can do is play these cards as well as you possibly can, right? All you can do is look at this scenario and try and turn it into a win. So don't look at things like going online or anything like that as a good or a bad thing. Look at them simply as facts, and then try and tell the best story you can with the facts that you have. So if you can take that approach to this type of thing, it generally allows you to do most of these things in a positive and a productive way. And I use this everywhere in my life. This is my main thing. When somebody presents something to me in a negative light, I try and not look at it negatively. I simply look at it as a fact, and I go, how am I still going to win in this scenario? And with that logic, it turns out pretty much everything gets a whole lot easier. That's my bit of preachiness for you, okay? Don't look at this as a negative. Figure out how you're going to turn it into a win. Okay, full disclosure. I am not an expert at this stuff. I'm going to talk to you a bunch of strategies and techniques which are based on psychology and different theory of mind and that type of thing, and I'm not a psychologist or a medical doctor. This is not my area of expertise. I am kind of considered an expert in terms of some areas of teaching, but they're generally not online delivery. It's certainly not where I've put all of my effort in the past. So I'm going to tell you some things, I'm going to give you advice, but I'm not going to stand here and say this is the one and only way to do this, this is the best advice of all time. It's just me trying to help you out a little bit here. So if you don't if you see conflicting evidence to anything like this, yeah, quite possibly. Okay, I'm not trying to lay this down as the law right now. Full disclosure. I can tell you that I do a lot of work from home. I always did a lot of work from home, and now I'm spending huge amounts of time working from home. So I do have experience, at least on my side here. And I have spent a reasonable amount of time talking with and working with other educators who do distance learning and things like that. So I've been able to go to places like the Australasian Association of Engineering Education, or A²E², and people talk about this type of stuff all the time. So I do have some exposure to it, although, again, not claiming that this is the be-all and end-all of how to do this. Cool. All right, so number one issue with going online for students is certainly motivation. The key things to remember here are that predominantly motivation doesn't find you, you find it. You don't want to be sitting there and waiting to be motivated. You're all going to lose motivation. That's a fact. You need to make an effort to go and find it again. Not the other way around. So you don't ever want to delay something, starting something because you're not motivated, because you'll just get caught in a downward spiral. Lack of motivation breeds lack of motivation. But if you can get up, you can go and you can actively chase it, you will do a lot better. Okay? But I'm not going to claim this is easy. It's not. It's not easy to get your motivation back. There is no silver bullet to, oh, just do this and you'll be motivated. It's fine. That's totally not how it works, right? So put the effort in to going and getting some motivation to the best of your ability, and also be aware that a lack of motivation, it's going to come and you're just going to have to grit your teeth and battle through it. And once you kind of realize that, it actually becomes a lot easier. Motivation's not, it's not fundamentally required, and it's not an excuse. Just work at it and you will be okay. But I'm not neglecting how difficult this can actually be. The other thing that I want to talk about is, well, so I'm going to spend the rest of this short lecture giving you strategies and techniques for how to be effective and efficient. None of that is a substitute for actually just doing the work. Okay? You can plan and you can have strategies and da as long as you want. None of it actually substitutes doing real work, because none of it actually is real work. Okay, so don't ever let a lack of a plan or a lack of motivation or anything like that stop you doing work. And don't spend hundreds of hours trying to come up with some beautiful strategy about how you're going to be perfectly efficient. Just do the work. Because once the work's done, it doesn't matter anymore. A brute force approach to this is undeniably effective. And if you ask me how I get so much work done, it's 100%, it's a brute force approach. Just do it. And then it's done, and then it doesn't matter anymore. Okay? So, I am going to give you some strategies, but don't rely on them to be a silver bullet and solve all your problems for you, because they certainly won't be. Now, strategies. So, number one thing that you want to do is look for engagement. Okay? There's a fallacy that kind of gets around where people think that their head is an empty bucket and we're there as teachers to pour knowledge into it. And it's super not how it works. Your head is not an empty bucket. It's full of stuff already. You don't absorb knowledge, you construct it. You build it. So we'll give you information, but then you take that information and you build it into knowledge in your brain. That's how it works. So it means you can't be passive and expect to learn. You can't just have information being thrown at you, just stick your headphones in and go away and not think about this stuff, and think that this information is going to go anywhere other than into your short-term memory and straight back out again. Okay? So you've got to be active in the learning process. This is like the fundamental reason why problem-based learning, the whole of Eng 1500 exists. It's to get you, when we give you information, contextualize it and use it to do a thing, no matter how trivial that thing might be. That actually reinforces it in your brain and helps you to build knowledge rather than memorize facts, which is useless to everybody. Okay? So making a huge effort to be active in your learning, not passive, will help you a lot. So a few things that you can do: talk at the screen. So I think the best way to be active is to actually try and talk back to whoever's giving you this information. So I do it all the time. In order to learn something and understand it quite well, you will hear me talking at my computer screen. Well, you won't because I'm at home. But my partner certainly hears me talking at my screen all the time as I'm trying to understand stuff. I'll explain stuff to my webcam, or I'll yell at the person who's on the other end teaching me stuff, or whatever. Trying to be as active and engaged as possible. You sound like an idiot because, you know, you're watching a video and you're talking at your computer, but it works, right? You ever watched a sports fan get engaged in a game of sports? They're yelling at their screen all the time. That's engagement. And you should be trying to do the same thing with your learning as well. Okay? The more of your brain and your body you can engage in the learning exercise, the easier stuff becomes to remember. So I'll spend a lot of time in my room actually walking around, standing up, talking out loud, trying to engage me so that I can cement things in my head. I do it all the time. Super useful. The other thing that you can do is talk with other people. Now, they're better than talking at the screen because they can ask you questions back and go, oh, I hadn't really thought about it that way. Or, hey, maybe I should look up a little bit more info on that. So I'm sure you've all got housemates and siblings who desperately want to hear about all of your engineering lectures for hours on end. But if you can get somebody to talk to in your house about the stuff that you're learning, that will definitely help you. Or you can work with your groups, right? You're all in a team. You've got things like Discord and stuff like that you can jump on. You can talk to your team, or you can talk to other people in your workshop, or some of you have got Discords for other courses like 1003 and Phys 1210 and all of that have got Discords. Get in, talk to other people about your content. That discussion is a really useful way of solidifying knowledge. This one's a little bit preachy as well. There are no boring subjects, only disinterested minds. The more you try to be engaged, the more interesting you will find the content. The more interesting you find the content, the easier it is to get motivated, the easier it is to learn, the easier it is to be engaged. It's a cycle. You've got to put effort in at the start. You've got to want to do it. And once you make a conscious choice, I want to learn this information, not I'm going to sit here and have somebody smash me in the face with information. But once you decide to actively be part of it, you will find that everything everything will slowly become more interesting, and then you'll find it easier, and then it'll get more interesting, all right? This is such a cycle. Almost everything we're going to talk about today is all cycles. So, engagement, super important. Sort of flipping it now. Yes, there's been a lot of changes to what's going on in this course and moving to online learning and your lives and whatnot at this stage. A really good strategy is to try to minimize this as much as possible. And there's some really simple things you can do to help, because the whole world hasn't actually changed as much as you might first think it did. If you've got a 9 a.m. class at uni, normally you would wake up, shower, eat breakfast, get dressed, go to uni, start class, right? And then you'd stay there, you'd do all of your classes for the day, and once that all finished, you'd go home. You really want to be doing literally every bit in that, except for the commute, if you want to remain successful, okay? So you should still be waking up at roughly the same time you normally would. You should still be having a shower and having breakfast and getting dressed and ready for uni before the start of your first class. A lot of you will find that if you normally wake up an hour before class starts, it actually takes your brain an hour to really genuinely get rolling. So if you normally woke up at 8 for a 9 o'clock class, and now you start waking up at 8:55 for a 9 o'clock class because you just need to roll over and turn your webcam on, you're not going to learn that information. Your brain hasn't woken up yet. It relies on the steps you normally take. There is no possible way that if you're still eating breakfast whilst your class starts, that you're getting that information at the same rate. You are shooting yourself in the foot there. You're crippling your brain's ability to learn, right? It will rely on the fact that it's been up for a while before it learns new things. It will rely on that you fueled it first before it learns new things. You can't assume it's going to work as well if you haven't followed your standard morning routine. Whatever that morning routine is. So mine's different, right? I roll out of bed, I grab a half a litre of energy drink, and I start working straight away. That's my normal routine. That's what I still do now. The fact that that means I start at 10 past 7 or whatever, it doesn't matter. Between when I would wake up and I would start working was 15 minutes previously, and I keep it to that now. The more you can hold on to those routines, the better you will be. And if you don't have routines, you probably should think about getting some. So still make sure you're getting ready in the morning. Don't allow yourself to start slipping. The more you begin to slip, again, it's going to spiral down. The harder it gets, the less engaged you are at the start of class, meaning the less valuable it is to you because you didn't learn anything. So then it becomes harder to be motivated next time, and your underpenetrated grows. For those of you who have seen How I Met Your Mother. So strict start times and strict minimum times I find is really important. Still have your day planned out. And that's our next one, having a plan. So you're not really going to be able to succeed at this unless you do start to make plans. Once you get the option of, do this whenever you want, it basically becomes, for most of you, do it never, because you'll never want to do work. So if you don't have a plan as to when you are going to do it, you're just going to keep pushing everything back. So make a plan, map your day out. I'm a big fan of the Outlook calendar. That's what I use. I use it because that's what all academics at uni use, is their Outlook calendars. Not all of them, but most of them. And I map out all the things that I have to do in that calendar. So if I have to have a meeting, or if I have to teach a class or whatever, I don't actually put my classes in it because it would be totally full if I put my classes in it. But whatever, if I have to have a meeting or something, it goes in my calendar. I have a plan, and then I know how long I've got to do my other tasks. And I definitely would advise you doing the same. I also map my tasks out though. So I have a to-do list and I have a to-do today list. So my to-do list is all the things that I need to do and just not forget about. And it's 50, 60, 80 items long. It grows and shrinks. But then my to-do today list is never more than about 3 or 4 points long. And they are things that I commit to getting done before quitting time that day. And for me, it's I will just keep working until I get everything on my to-do today list done, and allows me to commit to something that is measurable and manageable. So I'm never going to get my whole to-do list done in a day. That's impossible. So when I look at my whole to-do list, I go, this is impossible, never going to succeed, give up, go home. The whole idea of the to-do today list is this thing is manageable. I can get it done before lunch, or I can get it done before I go home. Same deal with things like your assignments. Don't go, oh yeah, I'm probably going to have to do my assignment today and stuff. You're not going to start. You're not going to work on it for very long. You're going to work on it for half an hour and go, this is too big to finish today, I'm giving up now. What you want is a really nice strict, I'm going to start at 11 o'clock and I'm going to work until 12 on this part of my assignment. And then I'm going to have lunch, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish blah off, whatever. But have them be measurable, things that you can do and knock over and tick off. The other thing is have lunch. Set a lunchtime. You need the break. You should, because you should have been working hard, so you should need a break. And it's really important to have it scheduled in somewhere so that you don't take it early and you don't take it over a really long period of time. By going, this is my, whatever it is, this many minutes that I'm going to take off for lunch. If you can bound that, then you can contain it. You've A, got something to look forward to, and B, not going to lose a heap of time on it. Lunch being, as I said, important to be a break. You should also be breaking more regularly than that. So it's a good idea when you are setting these measurable tasks up to going to work for 20 minutes and then take a short break. Going to work for an hour, take a slightly longer break. You may or may not notice this so far, but whenever I'm giving a lecture, every 20 minutes or so, we actually do take a short break. There's a marker that I put into my lectures every now and then to tell me to stop for a second, walk to the far side of the room and drink out of my can of Red Bull, and then very slowly walk back into the center of the room again. I do it every now and then, and it's actually because we've been going for a reasonable amount of time, and I want to give your brains the opportunity to catch up. It's only about 45 seconds is all I ever spend doing it, but it is actually something that we do all the time, and it is super effective in terms of helping you learn. Big hit of content for 20 minutes, short break. Big hit of content, short break. There are plenty of apps out there that can help you with this. Loads and loads of different apps out there that will break your time up for you and automatically time things and breaks and stuff like that. So if you want to try it, definitely try getting an app. I tend in my own personal work not to do times and breaks. I tend to do activities and breaks because I've got my to-do list. I go, I'm going to do this task however long it takes me, and then it's going to be done, and then I'm going to take a break. So I do it task-based most of the time, but a lot of people believe in time-based. Find out what works for you. Rewards, not bribes. So really important thing is to have a reward system in place. I'm going to do this thing and then take a break, or I'm going to smash my assignment out and then go and play a game or get a coffee or whatever it is that you do. Make sure you keep them as a reward system, meaning you do it first and then you reward yourself, rather than the bribery system, which is, I just spent 20 minutes on Facebook, now I should do some work. That's the wrong way of thinking about it. You definitely want to do the thing first, then have the reward. It's way more effective. I don't know why. I don't understand the psychology, but people who know a lot more about psychology than I do tell me that this is how you should do it. So this is what I'm telling you. Make sure it's a reward, not a bribe. Do the work first. Staying physically active is another important one. This goes into here because you may actually now need to plan it. Depending on what you used to do to stay physically active, whether that was sports, which have now been cancelled, or going to gyms that you may or may not be allowed to do anymore, or whether it was simply, for me, it was simply going to work was enough to keep me up and moving and walking around all the time. Since we've switched to online, I spend 10 to 12 hours a day, at least, in this chair. On a bad day, 16 or 17 hours a day in this chair working. I need to start scheduling. I've needed to start scheduling 20-minute windows to do something physical to make sure that I can actually keep my mental stability up. And this is the other one that I am told that I don't necessarily prescribe to, but other people tell me is very important, is to have a finish time and you finish at finishing time. Don't get me wrong, I definitely believe in I will work until 7 o'clock and I definitely won't stop before 7. But there are people who then say you should always stop at 7 to prevent burnout and things. So that's a thing that people say. I personally believe if you're motivated and you're doing good work, just power through, because you may not be motivated tomorrow, so don't waste it. But that's my personal strategy. I am told that you're better off to set a hard start time and a hard finish time. But anyway, that's all part of having a plan, right? It doesn't necessarily matter what you do, it matters that you are conscious about doing it. Cool. Short break. Okay. Another point here is to get yourself set up physically in your space. And I have spoken about this a little bit before. I'll reiterate it here. I spent a lot of time making this home office of mine a place where I wanted to spend time. I invested heavily in things like my chair, my mouse, my keyboard, my headphones, because I wear them 12 to 16 hours a day. I definitely think it was worth the investment that I put into them to make it be a place where I am happy and thus I am productive. Yeah. And I definitely think it'd be worth all of you, considering you're going to spend a lot of time working online now, spending some time and if you can, some money, getting yourself set up to be comfortable. It will be worth it. I do not regret any money I've ever spent on peripherals for my computer. Another useful thing for you to do is to have a place to work and a place not to work. So obviously I have the benefit that a lot of you won't, which is I have an office and I have a bedroom, right? And I don't work in my bedroom and I don't sleep in my office. And I understand that that's not an option for everybody. But what you might be able to do is have a desk in your room, a place to work, and a place not to. Or at the very least, and I used to do this when I used to live at home, I used to swap ends of the bed. So when I didn't have a good desk in my room or anything like that, I just had my bed. So when I'd sit down one end of it when I was working and I'd sit at the other end of it when I wasn't. And that was enough to me to put me in the mindset of, no, you're in work mode because you're here, versus, no, you're in chill mode down the other end. I found that super useful. So that's a thing that you all might be able to steal and use as well. I also communicate with my household a lot. So my partner knows that right now I'm making videos. That's my job. I'm at work right now. When I'm finished my task for the day, yeah, me and her can go and chill out and do whatever else. But right now I'm at work, and that's how it is. And I've communicated that to her, so she knows as well. She knows not to bother me at the moment and stuff like that. Really important. Other people in your house are going to serve as an enormous distraction to you. And if you can let them know you're working, then hopefully they won't be as distracted. On that, you want to be working on monitoring your distractions. So a lot of people are going to talk about making sure you deny yourself social media and leave your phone in another room or turn it off or whatever. Not having your Facebook tab open. And all of those things are cool things to try. Definitely try them. So definitely make a conscious effort when you're working in your working place to limit as many distractions as you can. I actually find not knowing whether I have a message distracts me more than having a message. So I don't turn my phone off, but that's something that I tried it both ways and now I know the answer to it. I would say far more important than not having distractions is knowing how to bring yourself back when you do get distracted. So it's not for me that I go, oh, I have a message. I actually do have a message. It's my ability to come back. Go back. Come back. Okay? So you're going to get distracted. That's the reality. You're going to get distracted many, many times between now and the end of your life. It's not your ability to never get distracted that's important. It's your ability to switch back to work mode. Switch back to work mode. Limit the length of the distraction. Switch back to work mode. If you can do that really, really, really well, getting distracted becomes far, far less important for you. So definitely be conscious of that. How are you going to make sure you keep switching back into doing good work? Cool. All right. So only like this slide and a summary slide, we're basically done. So we've spoken about this one again as well, but I'm going to reiterate it here, the procrastination cycle. So those of you who are procrastinating, in general, procrastination and laziness are not actually the same thing. There is laziness, definitely, and you shouldn't be lazy. But that's one thing. The procrastination cycle is actually something different. And this is a very simplified version of it, and I will be still working on getting some psychologists to come in and talk to you at some stage about things like this, because it is fairly complicated. But in essence, whenever you've got a task you don't want to do, You'll look at it, you'll go, I don't want to do that. And you'll make up an excuse as to why you don't want to start it yet. And that might be, oh, it's not due for 2 weeks and I've got something more important to do right now. It might be, oh, but Dylan hasn't told me how to reference it yet, so I can't start this report at all. Whatever it is, and it can be as little as, oh, I haven't had my energy for today, I'm not going to start yet. What then happens, though, is you come back to the task later. You've now got less time to do it, and it becomes more burdensome. It becomes bigger in your mind than it was before. And you feel bad about it. And it makes this, it starts as a really, really small feeling, but it's tiny when it starts, but it's a little bit of guilt. And then what you end up doing is going, oh, I really don't want to do that, making another excuse as to why you can't start. The problem is this starts really small, but it really quickly builds into something that causes quite a lot of anxiety or panic or whatever. You see panic here and you think, oh no, freak out, panic, but it can just be a little bit of bad feeling to begin with. And then you end up making another excuse. The problem is the smarter you are, the better your excuses will be. And you'll just continue making excuses, and then your due dates get closer and closer and closer, and this project becomes harder and harder and harder to start. And it becomes a really horrible experience. And this is where people get totally stuck, because this is a self-perpetuating cycle. All about cycles today, apparently. The good thing about it, though, is that once you can acknowledge that you're in a procrastination cycle, it's really easy to break out of it. Super secret tip, do literally 5 minutes of work. It's not complicated. Just start. Doesn't matter if it's the worst 5 minutes of work of all time. It can be crap, it can be horrible, but you can bite the bullet and you can do 5 minutes of work. And now that problem got less. Maybe it only got insignificantly smaller of a problem, but you've started to shrink it. And now you can start to go the other way in the cycle, right? So anybody can get through 5 minutes of work no matter how crappy a thing is. And most of the time you'll realize, hey, that was actually the hardest bit. And then it's easier from there. It's all spirals the other way, okay? So if you are finding that you're procrastinating, if you are finding that you're falling behind on stuff, pick a thing, do 5 minutes of work. Start, okay? The other thing to do is beware your procrastination excuse. Most people have a few defaults that they'll fall into all the time. So for most people, it's coffee. They won't start something until they've gone and gotten their coffee. Obviously, energy drink in my case. So you can do 15 minutes of work before you get your coffee. Do your 15 minutes of work first. Get your coffee as a reward, not the other way around. But once you know what your procrastination excuse is, it becomes really easy to identify that you're falling into a procrastination cycle, which makes it easy to get out. Cool. All right, so overall recap. Things we've spoken about today, you make your own motivation, all right? It's going to be harder now that you're online. Get it done. Just go out, find some motivation, commit to doing something, work on it. Don't be passive. Don't wait for it to come to you. Remember that the more you can engage, the more motivated you will be, which will make your engagement even easier for you in the future. This stuff definitely perpetuates. And you need to have a plan, all right? Failure to planning is planning to fail. Make a plan, have a strategy. I'm going to do these things. Your plan might go to hell, and that's fine. Your plan can collapse. It's all right not to perfectly stick to it, but it's important that you decided consciously what you're going to do and what you are doing. Making that a conscious decision will help you massively. And none of this, no amount of planning, no amount of talking about motivation or whatever, is a substitute for actually just doing your damn work. So if you really don't know what to do, just do your work, all right? And if you are being successful, getting through work, don't second guess yourself, okay? Just keep doing what you're doing. The brute force method works almost all the time. And this is it. The one thing that I want to leave you with, is hold yourself accountable to every little thing, all right? I can't hold your hand through this. Your workshop leaders cannot hold your hand through this. We're doing our absolute best. We're giving you weekly milestones where I'm laying out information for you, but it's on you. Come the end of this semester, you will only have yourself to blame if you don't stick to this stuff. I get that it's a change. I get that it's work that you've got to do, but hold yourself accountable to it and you will be successful. As soon as you start waiting on other people to make this easy for you, you're going to really struggle. So that's it. That's what I've got for you today. Obviously, lecture's still going to happen Monday, 4 to 6. No real content to go through, mainly just a Q&A session. And good luck with your assignments. Thanks, everybody.